What if the person you trusted most was the one who almost ended your life? In a presidential palace cloaked in silence and secrets, a deadly betrayal was only one drop of poison away from rewriting the future of an entire nation. This is not fiction. This is not a thriller from Netflix. This is a real undercover story, one of loyalty tested by money, power, and fear. Captain Ibrahy Trari, the respected leader of Burkina Faso, had built his presidency on strength, discipline, and trust. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that inside the very walls of his private residence, two women he believed in were being offered life-changing bribes. To end his one was Aicha, a housemaid promised a fortune by a man in a black SUV. All she had to do was pour a drop of poison into a glass of water. The other was Mariam, his personal chef. Hand-picked, loyal, disciplined. She was offered $10 million to slowly weaken him through food. Not enough to kill, just enough to let enemies finish the job later. And both women stood at the edge of a decision that could shake the very core of a nation already battling foreign threats, internal unrest, and a war against terror. In this episode of Celebrity Undercover Stories, we take you inside the walls of power and paranoia. You'll witness how betrayal can wear a servant's smile, and how sometimes courage looks like refusing a fortune. If you're searching for real undercover boss stories, political betrayal narratives, or untold secrets from inside global power structures, you're in the right place. Stick around to the end, because this isn't just a story. It's a test of values, a challenge to your conscience, and a reminder that even the quietest people can be holding the loudest truths. In the heart of West Africa, behind the tall iron gates and towering walls of the presidential residence in Ouagadougou, silence reigned. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that whispers secrets, the kind that hides danger in plain sight. The only sounds echoing through the grand halls were the polished rhythm of footsteps tapping against marble floors, and the gentle whirl of ceiling fans slicing through the dry, heavy air. It was the kind of silence that makes you hold your breath without realizing why. Inside his private office, Captain Ibrahy Trari, leader of Burkina Faso, soldier turned head of state, sat alone. His shoulders bore the invisible weight of a country at war with corruption, terror, and instability. Reports cluttered his desk, military updates, foreign intelligence, diplomatic warnings. But even as the sun cast a warm orange glow across his workspace, there was no warmth in his gaze. Just focus, just fatigue. Then came the knock, soft, measured. A silver tray clinked gently as it was carried closer. Aicha, the quiet housemaid, stepped into view. On the tray, a bottle of cold water and a simple glass. It seemed innocent, routine. But this wasn't just a glass of water. This was a test of loyalty, a weapon disguised in hospitality. And Aicha, she was no assassin, at least not yet. Just hours earlier, her life had taken a chilling turn. A stranger in a sleek black SUV had appeared near her neighborhood bakery, offering her more money than she'd ever seen in her life, 15 million CFA francs. All she had to do was slip a drop of liquid into the captain's drink. It would mimic a heart attack, silent, untraceable. Now, standing outside the office, hand trembling, Aicha had to choose, trust or betrayal, survival or conscience. She knocked again, and that's when everything began to unravel. It began with bread, or more precisely, the quiet morning ritual of walking to the corner kiosk for a baguette, and maybe a few coins of change. Aicha had done it countless times before, slipping out before dawn, picking the softest loaf, exchanging polite greetings with sleepy vendors. But that morning, something was different. The SUV didn't belong there. Its windows were too dark, its lines too sleek for a neighborhood like hers. When the door opened, the scent of cologne drifted out, sharp, clean, and unmistakably foreign. A man stepped out in a crisp gray suit, his expression unreadable behind mirrored sunglasses. He didn't ask for directions. He didn't buy bread. He walked straight up to Aicha. "You will receive 15 million CFA, he said calmly, speaking in Mossy so fluidly It made her skin crawl. All you have to do is pour this into his water. He won't die immediately. It'll look like a heart attack. Quick, quiet. Then he placed a tiny glass vial in her hand. Time slowed. Aicha's fingers closed around it involuntarily. Her heart thundered so loudly she was sure someone would notice. But the street was still. No witnesses, no movement. Just her and the man, and the impossible offer hanging in the air. And then he was gone. The SUV melted into the dusty morning like a ghost. All that remained was the vial's weight in her pocket and a storm in her chest. That afternoon, the storm followed her to work. Her hands trembled as she cleaned the glassware. Her eyes darted toward the corners of the kitchen. She wasn't a killer. She was a servant, a daughter, a sister, a girl who once wanted to become a nurse. But 15 million. That was a home, a future, a way out of poverty and powerlessness. The moment came. She poured the water. She uncorked the vial. A sweet floral scent bloomed from the liquid. Almost lovely, almost harmless. But it wasn't. As she approached Captain Traore's office, her mind screamed with questions. Would he know? Would he die in front of her? Could she live with the blood on her hands? The tray shook. So did she. This was no longer about water. It was about who she really was, and whether the man she was about to betray would ever see it coming. She stood in front of the door, the tray in her hands trembling like the beating of her heart. On it sat the glass, filled with crystal clear water. Water she knew carried death. The sweet aroma of the poison lingered in the air, so faint it could be mistaken for perfume. But to Aicha, it smelled like betrayal. Captain Ibrahy Traore's voice echoed from inside, low and weary. Entree. Her fingers brushed the polished brass doorknob. She pushed the door open and stepped inside. Haysi looked up from his desk, his eyes tired but kind. He offered her a nod, the same small, familiar gesture he always gave her. Trust, routine, unspoken respect. She had worked here for almost 2 years. He never questioned her, never looked over her shoulder. In a world full of dangers, he trusted her, and that trust was about to be shattered. She placed the tray down, careful not to spill a single drop. The clink of the glass touching the wood seemed louder than thunder. The captain reached out, picked up the glass, and raised it toward his lips. In that split second, something inside her broke. "Capitaine," she gasped, the word escaping her, mouth like a confession. His hand froze mid-air. He looked at her, puzzled. "Yes?" She opened her mouth, but her voice cracked. Her lips trembled. I forgot something," she stammered. "The glass, I should bring a clean one." There was a pause. The captain's expression changed, just slightly. A flicker of concern, perhaps. But then he nodded and set the glass back down. "All right." She picked up the tray with both hands and turned to leave. Her steps were fast now, unsteady, desperate. The hallway outside felt colder. As soon as she stepped into it, her knees buckled slightly and she leaned against the wall, her breath shallow, her chest heaving. She had almost done it. Almost, but she didn't. That should have been the end of it. A story of conscience overcoming pressure, a quiet victory. But then came the whisper. "I warned you not to screw this up." She froze. The man from the SUV was there, in the hallway, his eyes like knives, his voice like ice. In his hand, a pistol, with a silencer. "You had one job." And just like that, the moment of courage turned into a new nightmare. Not all heroes wear uniforms. Some wear aprons, wield knives instead of rifles, and fight their battles not on the front lines, but in the kitchen. For Captain Ibrahy Trari, that hero was Mariam Ouedraogo, his personal chef, and quietly, one of the most trusted people in his life. But trust like that wasn't given. It was earned, tested, and sealed through fire. Mariam's journey to the presidential residence was anything but ordinary. She wasn't recruited through connections or favoritism. She was chosen carefully, methodically by one of West Africa's most elite private vetting agencies. Out of 300 candidates, she rose through grueling rounds of evaluation, not just for her cooking skills, but for her integrity, discipline, and ability to perform under pressure. A single mother from Bobo Dioulasso, Mariam didn't boast certificates. From Paris or Casablanca, she had something rarer: sincerity. Her food didn't just fill stomachs, it calmed nerves, softened hardened warriors, and restored something most men in power forget: a sense of home. From the moment she stepped into the presidential kitchen, everything changed. Her routine was meticulous. Every vegetable washed, every spice labeled, every pot sterilized. Ingredients were inspected not just for quality, but for safety. She never cut corners, never trusted suppliers blindly, and she always tasted everything herself before it left the kitchen. But Mariam's role went beyond that of a cook. She became the captain's silent guardian, a watchdog hidden behind ladles and steam. Once, she rejected a batch of imported rice simply because it smelled off. A lab test later confirmed it contained traces of unknown chemicals. That incident shifted how the entire security team viewed her. She wasn't just protecting his diet, she was protecting his life. It was no surprise then, when Captain Trari, prepared for a high-stakes diplomatic mission abroad, he made an unexpected decision. "She's not just a housemaid," he told his generals. "She's my food security." The room fell silent. No one questioned him. Because when bullets don't fly, betrayal can still arrive, served on a plate, disguised as dinner. And in a world where trust is currency, Mariam was the last line of defense. Mariam never saw herself as a spy, let alone a traitor. Her loyalty was forged not by rank but by something far more personal: gratitude, honor, and a silent vow she whispered the day she entered the presidential kitchen. "I will protect him with every plate I serve." But loyalty is easy when life is stable. When a stranger offers you $10 million, loyalty becomes a battlefield. It began during a diplomatic visit abroad. Captain Trari had brought Mariam with him, trusting no one else to prepare his eye. Meals on foreign soil. At first, everything seemed normal. The kitchen provided to her was pristine, well-equipped, almost too perfect. Then came the message. Her phone buzzed late at night. A number she didn't recognize. A simple text. "We know who you are. We know what you want. Call this number. It's worth $10 million. Attached was a contract, cold, precise, anonymous. It included encrypted instructions, a bank routing, number in Switzerland, and a chilling promise. You'll be safe, you'll be rich. Your son will go to a private school in Canada. Your family's debt's gone." Mariam sat in silence, staring at the screen. 10 million, 6.5 billion CFA francs. The number made her dizzy. It wasn't just life-changing, it was generational. Security for her son, for her future, for everything she had ever struggled for, and yet, it came with a price. She was to poison the captain, not in one blow, but gradually. A tasteless, odorless compound, enough to weaken him, distort his thoughts, slow his decisions, enough to make him vulnerable to political manipulation. Or, worse, she was given 5 days to decide. When they returned to Bokhina Fasho, another message arrived. A digital receipt. 200 million CFA francs had already been deposited in her name. The rest would come after the mission was complete. Her hands trembled. She hadn't touched the money, but the deadline was closing in. Every second she could feel the weight of that decision crushing her from the inside. And then came the breaking point. Captain Trari's wife would be joining him for lunch. The dish, his favorite. The poison, already prepared. But now there was more than one life on the line. Could she risk harming an innocent? Could she live with being the one who destroyed trust forever? The room was quiet now. Not the kind of quiet you find in peace, but the kind that follows chaos, the kind that holds its breath. Mariam lay motionless on the hospital bed, pale and weak. Monitors beeped slowly around her, tracking the damage she had done to herself. A toxicology report confirmed it. She had ingested a slow-acting poison, the same poison meant for Captain Ibrahy Trari. No one could understand why, until she woke up. Eyes blinking under the harsh lights, her lips cracked and dry, Mariam whispered a truth that silenced the room. I had to choose between killing the man I respect or killing the part of me that would have let it happen. And she chose the latter. She had poisoned herself, a deliberate act of defiance, not to earn sympathy, not to escape justice, but to send a message. A final act of loyalty from a woman cornered by fear, debt, and a monster-sized bribe that could have rewritten her life. The revelation sent shockwaves through the presidential residence. The intelligence team confirmed everything. Surveillance, logs, messages, deposits, voice recordings. She hadn't fabricated it. It was real. The threat was real. But so was her decision to say no. And now the hardest question fell into the hands of Captain Trari. He sat at the head of a table in a room filled with his closest advisors. Some demanded her punishment. She had accepted the money. She had received the instructions. Intent in the eyes of the law could be enough. Others, though, argued for mercy. She didn't commit the act. She saved him. And she risked her own life doing it. Then the captain raised his hand. The room went still. This isn't just about her, he said. This is about who we are. About what kind of leadership we want to represent. Do we rule with vengeance or with wisdom? And now that question isn't just his, it's yours. If you were Captain Ibrahy Trari, what would you do? Would you forgive the woman who nearly betrayed you, but ultimately saved your life? Or would you demand justice for a crime that never quite happened? So now you know. One woman picked up the tray and walked away. Another picked up the poison and chose to drink it herself. Mariam didn't wear a medal. She didn't give a speech. She didn't even cry in public. But when the moment came, when no one was watching, she chose to protect the man she was sent to destroy. Not because she was fearless, but because she was human. And now, somewhere in Bokhina Fasho, a woman wakes up every morning knowing she is both saved and betrayed. But most of all survived Captain Ibrahy Trari. He made his choice too. He didn't just lead with strategy. He led with something rarer, grace. Because forgiveness is a power no army can match. Now we turn it to you. Would you have forgiven Mariam? Would you believe that one act of redemption could erase months of silence and fear? Let us know in the comments. If this story moved you, made you feel angry, grateful, or just more human, then do one thing for us. Like this video. Share it with someone who believes in second chances. And subscribe for more celebrity undercover stories that show us the raw, hidden truth behind power, loyalty, and redemption. Because the world doesn't just need more leaders. It needs people who remember what it means to choose right over. Easy, stay sharp, stay kind, and never forget. Sometimes the greatest battles are served with a smile.